Good day, everyone, and welcome to our series on basic food safety. Today, we will be looking at personal hygiene requirements for the food industry, presented by Sirius SA. We will be covering the following topics. Firstly, personal hygiene, the importance of PPE. We will be looking at hand washing, at health checks, and having a hygiene mindset. Right, firstly, what is personal hygiene? Firstly, it is how you take care of your body. So this includes bathing, washing your hands, brushing your teeth, and so on. We do this to prevent the spreading of germs. If we are not clean, we can spread germs to everyone around us. So germs, what are germs? Germs are just the general word we use for bad microorganisms. Now, the word microorganism, micro means small, and organism is something that is alive. So they are living things that are so small that we cannot see them. These will include bacteria, yeast, mold, and viruses, and they are all called microorganisms. They are everywhere around us and are able to make us sick or to spoil our food. We need to clean properly to ensure that we remove these microorganisms. But if you think of microorganisms, where can we find them? Well, remember we can't see them, so although that you think your hands are clean, it might not be so clean. Microorganisms are everywhere around us. It is in your food, it's inside your body, it's in the water, it's on your clothing, it's in the dust, on your skin, in the air. So basically, it is everywhere. Bad microorganisms can make you sick. Microorganisms can also spoil your food, like that rotten egg or the mold growing on your bread. Personal hygiene is therefore very important. Unlike this guy, who will definitely contaminate whatever he is trying to make in that kitchen. The word contaminate basically means to put bad microorganisms in the food. Moving on to the importance of PPE. PPE stands for personal protective equipment. So PPE is used to prevent us from contaminating the food product. Everyone working in a food production environment must wear the proper PPE as prescribed by your company. This will include hairnets, coats and overalls, gloves, safety shoes or boots. Hairnets. Firstly, a hairnet is there to prevent hair from falling into the food and contaminating the food. Remember, microorganisms are also found on your hair. Firstly, make sure that all your hair are covered, even if you need to wear more than one hairnet. Cover your ears with the hairnet. And if you are a gentleman with facial hair, please remember to wear a beard net to prevent beard hair from falling into the product. Our coats and overalls. Our personal clothing can carry bad microorganisms into the food production area. Remember, we come from home, we sit in a car or a taxi, and our clothing collect bad microorganisms. Overalls or coats are worn to prevent contamination of the food with the microorganisms on our clothing. Overalls and coats need to be clean. Dirty overalls can contaminate the food product. Overalls should not be worn outside the food production area. This is simply to prevent microorganisms from the outside from coming inside the food production area. Overalls must not be taken home. Taking an overall home creates a risk for the overall to get dirty and then contaminating the food product. Overalls should also not have any outside pockets. Overalls and coats usually do not have these on the outside simply to prevent items from falling out of the pocket and into the product. Disposable coats can be used, but remember that a disposable coat can only be worn once and must then be thrown away. Safety shoes or boots. Boots prevent slipping, especially if you are working in a wet environment. These boots will have a non-slip grip to prevent you from slipping and falling. Safety shoes, on the other hand, are there to protect your feet. The tips of these shoes are reinforced with steel so that if something heavy falls on your shoes, it will not crush your feet. Boots prevent contamination as well. Use the boot wash or the foot bath to clean your boots regularly. Gloves. Gloves prevent contamination that might come from your hands. Sometimes it is required of us to wear gloves, like for instance when wearing a plaster. When you have a plaster on your hand, you need to wear a glove to ensure that the plaster does not fall off and fall into the food. Disposable gloves are better. Remember that disposable gloves can only be used once. When you are done using it, throw it away. And remember to wash your hands even if you have gloves on. The gloves can also get dirty while you are working and can cause contamination. The importance of hand washing. Washing your hands is a very good way of preventing contamination of the food product. Why is that so important to us? Well, we use our hands to touch a lot of things. Our hands get dirty throughout the day and can then contaminate the food product. Can you remember what we said about microorganisms, that we cannot see them? Well, let's look a little bit closer. Here is a picture of two hands. The one is an unwashed hand and the other one is a washed hand. Now, the glow that you see on the left are microorganisms on the unwashed hand when you look under ultraviolet light. So there you can definitely see the difference between a washed and an unwashed hand. Here are the steps to follow when washing your hands. You will start by firstly wetting your hands, then applying the soap and scrubbing even the back of your hands, your wrists, between your fingers and under the fingernails. Don't rush this part. A good 20 seconds is required for your soap to make contact with your hands. Then you rinse the soap, you dry your hands with a paper towel and turn off the tap with the towel. At most food facilities, you will also be required to sanitize your hands. When should you wash your hands? Well, firstly, when your hands are dirty, and then always when you are coming from the bathroom. Always before you enter the food production area, after having a meal, after sneezing or coughing, and after taking a smoke break. Importance of health when working with food. It is important that the food handler is healthy when working with food to prevent contamination of the food. Bad microorganisms from the illness can spread to the food product and the people around you who you work with. So what are the rules regarding sneezing and coughing? Well, firstly, sneezing and coughing. Use a tissue to cover your mouth and nose every time you cough or sneeze. Cough or sneeze into your elbow if you don't have a tissue handy. Thirdly, throw away the tissue after coughing or sneezing. Then wash your hands and sanitize after coughing or sneezing. Remember to never cough or sneeze over food. Always turn away from people when you cough or sneeze and don't touch your face. If you do touch your face, then remember to wash your hands afterwards. Rules to follow when you are sick. Firstly, inform your manager when you are feeling sick. Some illnesses can pass on dangerous microorganisms to the food and make the consumer sick. For instance, diarrhea, vomiting, jaundice, and TB. Food handlers should also go for a medical checkup every year to ensure they are healthy enough to work with food. Sometimes we injure ourselves at work. Cuts and sores on the body can transfer dangerous microorganisms to the food. When you cut yourself, stop what you are doing and first treat the injury. Firstly, clean the wound, and secondly, cover the wound with a plaster. Plaster should be waterproof, and secondly, it should be of a bright color so that it can stand out and can be spotted when it falls off. Find out who the first aider is on your team. You can go to that person for assistance with an injury. To prevent the plaster from falling off and ending up in the food product, you can wear a glove. It is a good practice to keep record of who was issued plasters and gloves. For serious injuries, immediately call the first aider and inform your manager. These can be burns, people that fell, chemical burns, etc. Things that are not allowed in a food handling environment. All of these can cause contamination to a food product. No smoking allowed, no eating or drinking in the production area, and also no chewing of gum, no spitting, no jewelry. Also, especially for the ladies, too much makeup is not allowed in the production area, as well as nail polish and any false fingernails or eyelashes that can fall off and end up in the product. Keep your locker clean and tidy. Don't put wet clothes in your locker as it will cause a bad smell. Don't put food in your locker that will attract pests. So get the basics right and the rest will all fall in place. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to test your knowledge with our personal hygiene quiz, and thanks for listening.